Hello, everybody. My name is Rabbi Jeff, the Executive Director of The Well, and I am here with Rabbi Yoni Dahlen. Hello.
Hi, Rabbi. Thanks for
Hello.
having me.
You're welcome. I'm really glad to see you here. Very glad to have you with us for Reflect for Roche. The kickoff question is, what is the music, band, or background music that is really filling you up right now? What's your playlist this week?
My playlist this week. So I am a bit of a hip hop head.
Nice.
So especially when I start getting ready for high holidays, I really turn to lyricism and I turn to MCs that I think have really good lyrics. So I've been listening to this week a lot of Tribe Called Quest.
Yes.
I've been listening to Rakim, who maybe it's just like the legend of good lyricism. And I just finished reading Jay-Z's Decoded, which
how is it?
It's so cool. It like dives into a lot of his lyrics and shows like the layers upon layers upon layers that he works with. So I don't always love his beats, but like his lyrics are very cool. And it was cool to get in like a little deep dive into how he works. So that's kind of what's been keeping me busy, and that's what's been on my playlist this week.
That is awesome. I didn't know you were a hip hop head, Yoni. This is cool.
Big time.
Good to know.
Yeah.
All right, so shifting gears as we're reflecting for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, what do you think you're going to talk about? What's your holiday sermon about, or what do you think maybe it's going to be about? What's inspiring you right now?
So it's always a big question, and I feel like it's going to change 1,000 times before the high holidays, because I always, invariably, I write 4 or 5 sermons, and then we'll deliver the one that I write a few days before, right? And it usually works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does. But what I'm thinking about a lot this year, and what's kind of I try to write my sermons based on what's kind of keeping me up at night, as far as my own Jewish practice and what I think is keeping other people awake as far as their Jewish practice as well. And for me this year, I'm kind of on this crusade of trying to get us to pivot away from this idea of saving Judaism or preserving Judaism and going more into the idea of loving Judaism and falling in love with Judaism. I think that especially in liberal forms of Judaism, as in anything that's not Orthodox, we see our mission as kind of holding on to Judaism and trying to give our kids the Judaism that we grew up with, our grandkids, or kind of preserving it, as opposed to really embracing it and understanding that Judaism isn't supposed to be a museum. It's not supposed to be something we inherit and look at. It's something that we get to play with and explore and dive into and fall in love in the ways that appeal to us. So that's what I'm meditating on and hoping to put into some words that make sense.
I love that idea. And like the first thing is thinking like these things are mutually exclusive too sometimes. Sometimes you love something by saving and preserving it. Like that can be true. And at the same time, what comes to my mind, I'm a car guy. Actually, I enjoy cars, and sometimes people put cars on display and behind glass, and there are car enthusiasts, like maybe we're Jewish enthusiasts as rabbis, that say if you're going to get that car, it deserves to be on the road. You got to drive it, you put it on the track, whatever it is.
I love that. The image I'm coming back to, kind of my own metaphor for working through this, is the movie The Sandlot.
Of course.
Classic. He has this forbidden baseball, this Babe Ruth baseball, that's always just like on his stepdad's mantle.
Yeah.
And it's, the whole movie changes when he actually takes it off the mantle and they play with it and he hits it into, the territory of the beast.
Yeah.
But that one, touching the forbidden thing that's supposed to be looked at, brings him closer to all these friends and his family and ultimately his father, his stepdad too, right?
Yeah.
So I'm coming back to that image over and over again of saying like, yeah, I understand things that have value and you want to appreciate them by putting them in a safe place and looking at them. But sometimes the value needs to be, as you said, taking it out from the glass and giving it a, not just test drive, but really like getting out there and having fun with it.
Cool. So as people are now sort of introduced to this idea, what would you suggest that they do or read or play with?
I think I can we're rabbis, so we can recommend a million different books, right? But I think for this message in particular, it's about getting rid of the idea of the judgment of what we're supposed to do or how to do something Jewishly, whether it be lighting Shabbos candles or saying Kiddush or Motzi or whatever it is, and getting away from, I need to look it up to make sure that I do this right, and just do it. Do it in whatever way that feels, even if it's weird and quirky, or if it's just your spin on it, do it, right? Like that's kind of what I'm encouraging people to do as we get closer to the high holidays and beyond, is to get rid of this idea of a learning curve and the expectations of the manual of how things need to be done appropriately, because that's what makes it a museum, right? But if we put it in a way of saying that, this is within your grasp already, and there's different ways of doing things, then it allows us to play. And I think that play is an important part of Judaism.
I personally and spiritually agree. The accessibility of Jewish stuff, especially when there are barriers of language, barriers of practice and literacy and experience, it can feel really inaccessible, like that ball way up on the shelf that you can't actually touch. And learning that, there's a ladder here, there's somebody willing to like lift you up here, or even you could jump higher than you realize to sort of grab the ball after you sort of have permission or have an understanding that that's a possibility. So this is a cool stuff. I like this concept. Excited to hear it. If I wanted to and was able to come and check it out, how would I or other young adults be able to do that?
So we have everything that's going. We're going to do hybrid services, so everything will be available in person, but also streaming. We know that COVID is an issue, and we're doing everything day by day. We have a really great health task force that's monitoring everything and reevaluating all the time and putting their heads back together and kind of leading the way for us. But just reach out to me, and we'll make sure that we can get you tickets, both in person and streaming, or either or, whichever you prefer, at no cost to you. We'll take care of you. I'll take care of you. We just want to make sure that you have that permission to play, and you can come play here.
Right on, young adult. Thank you so much for being part of this Reflect for Rosh.
Thank you, and Yasher Kalach to you, and thank you for making the space so people can come together and play and experiment.
Thank you. All right.